Like many other creation stories, the book of Genesis is a tale of duality. Heaven and earth, Adam and Eve, God and Satan, good and evil. This duality is what French sociologist Émile Durkheim argues is the foundation of religion, the distinction between the sacred and the profane. In his 1912 book, The Elementary Forms of the Religious Life, Durkheim argues that all known religious beliefs, whether simple or complex, present the same common character. They suppose a classification of two things, real or ideal, that one imagine in two classes in two opposite kinds, generally designed by two distinct terms that translate well enough the words profane and sacred. One of the most explicit symbols of Durkheim's argument is perhaps the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And the Lord God commanded Adam, saying, Of every tree of the garden thou may eat freely, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it. For in the day that thou eat thereof, thou shalt surely die. In the Bible, the tree is the first profane object, of which its profanity serves not only to distinguish itself from the sacred, but likewise for the sacred to distinguish itself from the profane, mutually dependent on one another. And so it goes on. Just as Adam and the tree beget Adam and Eve beget Cain and Abel, beget eventually Jacob and Esau, beget again and again and again until we arrive at where we are today. A world that faces, in contrast to the black and whiteness of Genesis, a far greater duality than just simply good and simply evil. Who decides what justice and injustice are? Moral and immoral? Right and wrong? Well, to answer those questions, we can start by looking at the Minions. To the unattuned viewer, the Minions' goal of trying to serve the most despicable master they could find seems to just be a plot gimmick at first. Good, it's just a story, bro! It ain't that deep, said some foolish, ignorant viewer who's too enthralled in the comedy to grasp its divinity, because you see, any attentive viewer would immediately realize the religious themes of the Minions. Tell me, could it just be a coincidence that in the Minions' backstory, or perhaps I should say their Old Testament, they are constantly trying to search for a despicable master just as some sort of, dare I say, messiah figure? Tell me, could it just be a coincidence that the Minions were stuck in an ice cave for nearly 2 centuries, almost as, dare I say, Moses was barred from the Promised Land? Tell me, is it just a coincidence that the Minion trio of Bob, Kevin, and Stuart almost always functions as one single unit, just as, dare I say, the Holy Trinity? On a side note, phallic objects are also a common motif across many religions, and let's just say the Minions are a metaphor for religion, which in and of itself is filled with metaphors that exist, in contrast to empirical evidence, only in the abstract realm. Was Abraham a real person? I don't know. Did Jesus really perform miracles? I don't know. Is God really trying to send us messages via burnt toast? More importantly, if no one can empirically prove the existence or non-existence of God, who's to say that things like morality even objectively exist?
Well, no, we ain't fine. But I always say the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence.
What?
Simply because you don't have evidence that something does exist does not mean that you have evidence that something doesn't exist.
What?
Matter of fact, if morality doesn't exist, why am I even trying to be moral? Heck, I'm gonna go rob a bank right now. Be right back.
Wait!
Who are you?
I'm Immanuel Kant, 18th century German philosopher, and I'm here to tell you why morality, and by extension God, exists and is necessary.
Beat it, Buckyo. You can't prove jack.
Buckayano. But I understand you, kid. The world is cruel and assholes win while nice guys always finish last. It's rather demoralizing.
Cut to the chase, Pops.
Patience, young one. You see, there's one way for justice to be served in our mortal world, and that's for an afterlife to exist in which we can reward the moral and punish the immoral. Only with faith in this afterlife can a just society maintain itself in the face of a demoralizing world. That is why we need religion.
So desu ne. But wait, that only argues for morality's necessity for religion, not what those morals should actually be. Oh, he's gone, isn't he?
Shabadabadoo. People. Shabadoo. Banana.
You're right, Kev. Let's go. Wait. No. Kevin. Don't you see?
Pardon?
You are the answer. The minions. How did I not realize it sooner?
Despicable Me?
Yes, that is exactly what you are. You follow a natural evil that is... At the beginning of this video, I said that Durkheim's argument for religion is based on the duality of the sacred and the profane. Likewise, Kant's argument is based on religion as a necessity for moral stability. Considering that religious views of morality posits morality as that of God's doctrines, in other words the sacred, that just leaves the question of what the sacred is. Now, while minions don't explicitly say what the sacred is, the fact that they naturally follow the most despicable villain means that the minions, at the very least, prove that there is a natural evil, a natural profane, and seeing as Durkheim frames the sacred and the profane as mutually dependent, this means that by proving the natural profane, minions also prove the natural sacred, which proves natural morality, which, in combination with Kant's argument, proves the afterlife, which proves the existence of God. Minions prove God. More specifically, by following villains such as the Pharaoh and Dracula, who are villains from a modern Euro-American perspective, the minions also prove that the correct God is none other than the Abrahamic God. Thus, as long as the minions stay evil, there is no doubt that God exists. Except, they don't stay evil. The minions continue serving Gru after Gru turns good, defying their God-given nature and by extension, defying God itself. Given the whole, the minions' profanity preserves moral stability spiel, it's almost a selfish decision to turn good, and yet the minions do so anyways because just as evil is in their nature, so too are love and the capacity to change. After all, why be evil when you can become something so much more? In many ways, the dehumanizing purpose of evil projected upon the minions by God is manifested through the design of the minions themselves. They are overly simplistic and scream no originality nor individuality. From the perspective of the viewer who effectively acts as God, aware of both the worlds in and out of the screen, in and out of heaven and earth, a sea of minions is just one sea of minions. However, to their master Gru, he sees a sea of each and every individual minion: Bob, Kevin, Stuart, and more. This isn't an essay to preach about how God is evil and abandoned us to suffer on earth. No, this essay is just a reflection on the minions' indomitable spirit to not be just what they are supposed to be, but what they want and what they can be. Be more. Be better. Become. And with this mantra in mind, the minions find an eternal peace within Gru's house, where Bob can watch his reflection and see not a despicable me, just as Kevin likewise no longer has to see in his reflection a despicable me too. Thanks for watching. So I post blogs, by the way, and if you have the time and if you enjoyed this essay, I would seriously encourage you to give at least one of them a read. Two of them are not the most serious, but the other ones I definitely treat with a lot higher degree of respect than an essay on minions and God that end on a despicable me too pun. It's also like this video was originally meant to be in that blog, and it will be. It's just I finished writing it and it would have been a blog, but it's kind of weird to post an April Fool's blog before it's April Fool's. But yeah, I'll drop a link in the description of this video, so if you have just a little bit of time, like 5 teensy tiny minutes, please do give it a read, and I'd be really happy if I could hear some comments, especially in this video as well. I post a bit of music. I did post a bit of music, I should probably clarify, on this account, and yeah, it's always fun to read comments and what other people have to say. So yeah, please do take a look at the blog if you have a bit of time. Thank you very much for coming this far. See ya.